Welcome to the Agents of the Roundtable Wiki Community AMA. Every Monday, we discuss Secret Network and its applications with guests from all around the network. This is an audio recording of the AMA. We hope you enjoy.
Hey, welcome on. I think you can speak.
Yeah, it's working now. Finally, I still had to whitelist my microphone for the phone.
Yeah, it's a bit of a. It's always struggling with Twitter Spaces, but it works.
Actually, it's my first Twitter Spaces today, so thank you very much for the opportunity and thank you for the invitation. And yeah, looking forward.
Yeah, no problem. It's we were always very busy with these. We had them on Monday in the Discord of Secret Network, and then at a certain point we moved to Twitter Spaces. In the bull market, we had like 100 people at least joining these, but it's a bit more quiet nowadays.
I guess the
and
numbers go down with the bear market as well.
Yeah, not only the price goes down, but it's okay. We always record these and we put them on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Google, basically every centralized website you can imagine. And then people can listen to them back. So it's always nice to have these.
Awesome. Actually, I've also recognized the total IBC transactions going down over the past month. It's the first month where they didn't increase drastically.
Is that for every chain or?
Well, I mostly recognize it on our relayer numbers, and we're deep into osmosis relaying, and also that's connected with a software update on osmosis that essentially makes unnecessary relayer transactions unnecessary, so that they won't be done anymore and not broadcasted anymore. So we have a huge amount of less transaction spam by relayers on the osmosis network, and actually that's also connected to that. So don't worry when you see the map of zone numbers go down.
Yeah, it's cool. I always check map of zones a little bit to see which chain has been doing what, and it seems like osmosis is still the center of the Cosmos universe.
It is for sure, and it's so fun because they started out with this. Well, they started out really as osmosis zone. It's still their URL, and I think that osmosis has mutated to the main hub in the IBC ecosystem right now. But I'm looking forward actually to see a future where we have many, many hubs and many, many zones interconnected to each other.
Yeah, IBC really is a vision, and even though it has been enabled for a little bit over a year, of course. I think Stargate was February 2021, and then Osmosis, of course, came a little bit later. So we are now a little bit over a year where you can actually use IBC.
Yeah, when Osmosis launched end of June last year, it was 7 chains connected through IBC, and there was only a few hundred test transactions. And when Osmosis launched, that really kicked off the usage of IBC. Like with, you probably saw it, all the users saw it, with all the liquidity inflowing. The first IBC transactions by users were made, and we all saw those huge APRs and we chased them. And it was a cool time a year ago when Osmosis started out. And fast forwarding to today, we got 49 zones I see right now on map of zones. And even if you include the testnets, it's over 200 networks being connected through IBC at this moment.
Yeah, it really is insane. I joined. Well, I was already invested in Secret Network and in Cosmos, but of course there wasn't really a lot of things to do before. Before June 2021. So that is when I again sent all my funds to my Kepler wallet and started using it, and took advantage of the 3,000 APR osmosis pools, and I think I bought a cash for like $8 a piece or something like that. And it was a very interesting time with only 6 or 7 chains launching, and governance was also still very easy. It was easy to track what was happening, and nowadays there are like 20 proposals at the same time on 30 different chains. So it really has changed a lot in a year.
Yeah, it has. We started out as a validator about a year ago when Osmosis launched as well, and we're now connecting 23 chains in the Cosmos IBC ecosystem. And yeah, as you said, governance is a huge job right now. We have a dedicated team member just for governance.
Yeah, it's a good way to start a conversation as well, I guess. I'm hosting this today with CryptoCrew validators, but I guess you can also say who exactly you are and what you do in the team. But I'm also known as Ertemann, but I host these sessions regularly on the Agents of the Roundtable, AMA or education session or whatever you call it. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Google, Amazon, basically anywhere you want to listen to a podcast or watch a video. And today we have CryptoCrew validators on to talk about IBC, see what has changed in all this time, how it works, and then answer any of the questions from the community if they have one. So maybe you can quickly say who you are, what company you work for, and how it works, and what you do.
Thank you very much, Ertemann. Stoked to be here. Hi, guys. I'm Clemens. I'm CEO and CTO and the co-founder of CryptoCrew Validators. We actually started out last year when Osmosis started. We launched our first validator, and right now we're connecting 23 chains within the Cosmos IBC ecosystem. And from the beginning on, we knew that IBC infrastructure is one of the core pieces of this beautiful ecosystem, and that impeccable user experience of the IBC network will be one of the most important things to go forward and to base the success on IBC in the future. So we immediately started to run our own relayers, and that was like a year ago when we started to relay between Osmosis and other chains. And right now we are also connecting over 15 networks with our relaying systems, and they are amongst the most efficient relay systems in the IBC ecosystem. So we're a real IBC operator. We provide servers, bare metal servers, that we rent in partnering data centers. Also, we host our own hardware, and we provide this infrastructure to the interchain. So be it as a validator or be it as an IBC relayer, we also host public endpoints for the chains that we support. Endpoints are entry points applications can use to communicate with the chain. So every time you are on a front end or a user is on a front end, the front end needs to communicate with a chain endpoint, and infrastructure providers like us, they provide those endpoints and they keep them lively. Validators need to be lively as well. They get slashed if they're not. And yeah, we were talking a brief bit about governance before we officially started. And that's a really, really interesting topic to base a conversation of, as Ertemann already mentioned, because it's become a huge job to do a good governance job within the Cosmos ecosystem. If you're validating 20 plus chains, or also if you're a user on 20 plus chains, it is a huge job to participate in governance and to participate in this network. What do you think?
Yeah, it's I'm not running a validator myself, or at least not yet, and I'm just voting on my own and participating in mostly secret network governance, but always available to discuss any atom proposals as well, and just keeping up with those and all the new things that come up is it's crazy. And since I think a lot of things changed after Juno proposal 16. It's a bit of I guess an anchor point from now onwards for the entire IBC ecosystem to say, okay, that is when people really started dedicating very like a lot of time and research into various proposals in the network. Do you think that's also one of the most important moments in the past year, I guess?
For sure, when it comes to governance, Juno Prop 16 was a very, very controversial proposal, of course. We were actually the second validator to no with veto it, and that's being kind of closely connected to the core team, so we also had our issues to solve. Well, in our opinion, it was easy. As an infrastructure provider of an immutable, trustless blockchain network, we think that state should never be changed. And what the proposal suggested was to effectively change the state and move the funds from the Wales account to either a burn address or later a smart contract. And I think it was a really, really interesting development because, as you said, it was maybe the first time when over 90% of the community of a blockchain network engaged with governance, and they actually all gathered their own data. Everybody was reading articles by those guys. Everybody was following what Takumi said. Everybody followed what the core team said. And so I think there was a great democratic process unfolding around Juno Prop 16, which led to the later prop. I think, was it 21? I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, I think it was 21, which in the end proposed a smart contract where funds of a specific entity could go to instead of them holding them themselves from that moment onwards. And then this smart contract would have several options where people could decide what would happen with the funds.
Exactly. So we felt that after we know with vetoed Prop 16, there was actually a lively democratic process and the community seemed pretty informed about what's going on. That's why we abstained for Prop 21 to really let the community decide. And we said we will go forward with whatever the community wants. So the community decided to move the whale funds to the smart contract. And it was so funny because it actually needed to be done through a chain upgrade. And we ended up being the validator proposing the upgrade block, effectively moving the funds to the smart contract. But this lies within consensus, so that's a coincidence, a pure coincidence. But we were actually the validator to sign the first block after the upgrade on Juno. And actually, we will probably run through another Juno upgrade today whilst being in this stream. I love it.
Yeah, it seems like Juno has a lot of updates actually.
Well, it's a lively development.
Yeah, I've been following Lavender 5 for quite a while, and I've seen them update various chains and say, okay, no, I cannot handle that meeting at that moment because then I have this chain upgrades, and then 2 hours later I have this chain to upgrade. And I guess my question would be, when are there too much change for you to handle as one company or as one entity?
Well, you can horizontally scale, of course. So you need a well-organized operation. Then you can employ people. We write our own software. We have our orchestrator pipeline, and we can employ operators to be able to scale.
Yeah, so in the end, you need more employees to run the updates at the same time, I guess.
Exactly, and in the bear market, it's a hard decision for us which chain to support and which chain to not support. Essentially, the question is, will the chain that we support survive the bear market, and can we also have, or can we cope with the financial burden of maybe running infrastructure for this chain and not getting much revenue out of it for a year or something? And I think that with most of the decisions we made, we're really, really happy. And actually, there are some chains launching those days. They are also really interesting for us as a validator. Speaking of Agoric and Axela Network, those are two chains that we really embrace and we will love seeing to launch in the coming days. Well, Axela actually already launched. They both already launched, but they will start their main operations soon.
Yeah, in the end, you can only validate on so many chains where you can actually make money or earn something. I guess it's something that a lot of people don't seem to understand. But running not only one full node for your validator, but also running endpoints, relayers, archive nodes, whatever. Everything has a huge cost basis, and then you also need an office and everything else. And it is really the case that a lot of change, if you're under the top 50 validators or basically under the top like 25%, you're not really making a lot of money. You're mostly losing. So there's always one chain that affords someone to then validate on another one, or it's just an investment decision where you say, okay, hey, we invest in the IBC ecosystem now, and we hope that something will come of it from the long term.
Totally.
Is that also the reason why you guys are so active in running relayers and supporting IBC? Is that an investment into the future, or is that a way to distinguish yourself from other validators?
Well, I think that the success of most of the chains that we validate, it's really based on IBC functionalities. And with the IBC functionalities and the apps there that are developing or that are being developed on app chains or within Cosmosm, they all need impeccable IBC user experience to be a good product. And I think that, well, our main goal was to get into validation, to get into the Cosmos ecosystem and to run nodes. And we immediately saw a year ago that IBC is the huge thing that will help the Cosmos IBC ecosystem and every chain that we probably validate gain traction and survive and become a valuable application. And that's why we immediately started out relaying, and we still are of this opinion. So we're right now extending our relay operations, even though we are in the bear market. We are investing right now in IBC because we think our long-term vision is based on the success of the Cosmos app chain ecosystem, and it needs a perfect IBC network and perfect IBC infrastructure providers in between to succeed in this way, in our opinion.
And the question is just who will do this? Is it in the end? It seems like that for every application or for every chain, basically there are like 5 to 8 or 10 validators, or sometimes not even validators on that specific chain who say, okay, I will take a loss every month in order to support the ecosystem. But it's a very noble job, of course.
Well, yeah, but also IBC currently has a real big incentivization problem, in my opinion, with relayers paying, as you said, most of the expenses from their own pockets, and they're using the relaying to market their validators, and so they're paying the relaying expenses from their validator income. That's not optimal situation. So IBC was shipped without mandatory user transaction fees. And right now, with the next version of IBC, with IBC v4, there will be a new middleware introduced into the IBC protocol, which will enable relayers to get fees from either users or from a fee pool. And so I think that's one tool that will arrive within a few months on most change, because I think it will be part of the Cosmos SDK 0.46. So it will be for sure included in the row upgrade on the Cosmos Hub. And also I think that the other chains, that the major IBC chains, they will include and roll out the Cosmos SDK 0.46 and IBC v4. And from that point on, relayers can be incentivized. So we don't know yet how much user transaction fee will actually generate in revenue from the relayers, for the relayers. We're just estimating, and we're trying to build a really, really efficient relayer operation right now to be able to get the transaction fees when the middleware is shipped finally. So there will be one way of incentivizing the whole thing, and then there are also other ways of incentivizing relayers. We've seen, for example, core teams who hand out foundation delegations to validators who actively relay. Juno Network, the Juno core team, they actually published a really, really well-written piece on their documentation about how validators receive foundation delegations. And one medium priority point per this document for the Juno Network is if you're a validator, you want to receive a foundation delegation, run a relayer. And so there are incentives, but I think it needs to be better incentivized. Probably, well, people will always go where the money is, and they will always chase their business opportunity. So if there's a business opportunity within IBC relaying, I guess that we will have a better situation than right now with like 4 to 6 relayers per channel and only single operators around the world working together in Discords and stuff like that, like how it is today. But I think we're transitioning in a better future.
Yeah, the situation now really is, I guess, how decentralization sometimes works. It's in one sense, people like decentralization and think it's the most, the best thing ever. But as soon as you have to cooperate across 6 different time zones with 20 different teams, indeed in Discord and Telegram channels, then it can become a hot mess very fast.
You start to embrace. Is it Discord? I think Discord doesn't show when you read a message. So I started to like the opportunity to read messages and react later. But yeah,
indeed, you have to figure out when to react to what and which channels to mute and which to not. But in the end, everyone tries to move forward, and it's good to see that incentivization is coming for relayers, and that people are finding a way to have a good ecosystem with all of them in there. I mean, everyone wants to be connected to the Cosmos Hub, but you see that some chains still have a lot of problems trying to get relayers to host different tokens on their chain. And soon it will not only be about tokens, it will always also be about messaging. And I guess that's my a big question to me still, as in now there are a few validators who handle, sometimes it's millions of dollars, but still only a few million transactions a month. But what when IBC messaging, so IBC compatible contracts come out? I mean, Secret is launching that within 2 months. Juno already has them, but they just need a counterpart. I'm curious if Osmosis is working on it. How will the ecosystem look by then?
I think that probably the most important point to talk about at this point will be shared security. So with a consumer chain launching with the validator set provided from a provider chain, similar to what we will see with when what's the actual prop on Cosmos Hub?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I'll search for it. Go ahead.
When that passes, we'll probably soon see the first consumer chain launching with shared security from the Cosmos Hub. So you need a really reliable IBC connection to the Cosmos Hub for consensus messages to be transferred. If the relayers between a provider chain and the consumer chain go down, consensus messages effectively cannot be passed on to the provider chain. So the consensus of the consumer chain will be in danger. So I think that with interchain security, we will soon see teams reaching out to relayers and asking for another service than what relayers are doing today. Speaking of transferring tokens and value in between chains, a user, well, I know it's bad for everybody if they need to wait and if the tokens are stuck in limbo and if there is no relayer grabbing up your IBC transaction and you maybe need to wait a few hours for your tokens to be free. That's something that can really bother. I get that. But if you are a consumer chain consuming the shared security from a provider chain and you don't have a functioning IBC connection, that's something else. And I think with this, it will probably become a bigger topic soon.
It would really require very strong and robust connections which are redundant amongst various different channel providers and relayers.
Exactly. It can't be done by a single team around the world. It must be redundant teams. If one team goes down, another team can jump in and facilitate the IBC transaction. But let's loop back to Secret Network. You guys have this beautiful platform. It's called the rapskirt.network.
Yeah, rep.scrt.network. I guess it's the question, how do you pronounce the secret token? Is it Scrt or SCRT or secret?
Oh, I just enjoy saying skirt a lot, I think, because it has this meme style. So I say skirt.
Yeah, we always have to be very careful when we are constructing sentences, because when you're speaking about secret network which hosts a secret token called secret, then you get a very complicated situation.
Yeah, indeed. I call it S-skirt.
Indeed, I'll also say as secret.
Yeah. Well, before there was Rep Secret Network, there have been secret CosmWasm tokens on the Secret Network, actually, and I've used them. But with IBC connection and with the opportunity to use this front end Rep and to deposit any connected IBC token to the Secret Network and wrap it into a private asset, it's a beautiful product, in my opinion, and it's one of those products where you see the strength of the Secret Network.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. For people who are not familiar, what we're talking about is it's basically the Osmosis assets page, which lets you deposit IBC tokens or IBC coins, sorry, so native coins onto the platform, onto the Secret Network. But on Secret Network, which is a Cosmos SDK chain, you cannot really use native coins of different chains, or you can use them in the normal sense where you maybe pay gas in them or do stuff like that. But if you really want to use them in DeFi or in applications, then you have to wrap them into their secret counterpart, which is called secret tokens. So for example, you have Secret Atom, which is denominated by S Atom. And you also have S Chihuahua and SFMOS and CryptoCrew and some other validators have been working very hard trying to get all the channels up. And the rep.secret.network page will now host a lot more tokens upcoming, hopefully somewhere next week. And there might also be a new UI, a new user interface for everyone to work with it. And maybe interesting to discuss is that when you use other tokens, so other coins on, for example, Osmosis, then you're using the native variant. But then when you're interacting with secret tokens on Secret Network, you're actually using a smart contract. And I'm curious if that is something you like, and if you see any opportunities in that, or do you think that's a different design decision, which is maybe weird, or we won't see on other chains?
Well, the smart contract, it brings the privacy. So those S tokens, they can be sent to another wallet on the Secret Network in a fully private transaction, in an anonymous transaction. They cannot be traced back. So with that being the main use case of the Secret Network, I think those S token CosmWasm contracts are probably one of the major parts of the Secret Network.
Yeah, without secret tokens, there is no privacy on Secret Network. So secret,
Exactly.
for example, the native token is public, or the native coin, sorry, is public. But if you, for example, buy an NFT with S Atom or S Secret, then nobody can see which NFT you bought. They can only see that you interacted with a specific token. So if I buy something with S Secret, then they can see an interaction with S Secret, but nobody knows I bought a specific NFT. And the same goes for when I send it to a different address. You can also see I only interacted with a specific token. So this is really the privacy layer, with the privacy layer that Secret Network brings.
And this is really, in my opinion, the major product of the Secret Network within the IBC network. So you can go to this chain and you can wrap your tokens and make them a private token and then send them to another address in a private transaction or buy NFT privately. This is a beautiful use case, in my opinion, and that's why we really embrace the secret network. We only recently launched our validator, actually.
Yeah, but you only have your validator recently. But as far as I know, you've been relaying for the secret network since the genesis of the IBC connection, which is, I think, October 2021 or November 2021.
Yeah, true, because we saw the potential of the secret network, and we always wanted to interact more with the team and provide our infrastructure to the network. And at the time being, the active set was still very, very small, and so we got this opportunity to get into the active set with the last active set extension on the secret network. And we're very thankful and glad that we made it.
Yeah, so for anyone who still has some funds available, I think you guys are at like number 70 or something. You're barely in the set. So if anyone has some delegations left, then feel free to help them.
Thank you very much. We moved up a bit already, but thank you for the shout out for sure.
Yeah, no, and it's when you're thinking about secret tokens, I think it is cool to quickly look at an application like Hydro and see how that maybe impacts IBC and secret tokens. What Hydro will be doing is they will have liquid staking derivatives for other protocols on their application. So you will be able to send Juno and Atom and well, any other Cosmos coin for that matter, which they accept, to secret network, wrap them as a token, and then stake them basically on the secret network. So you would give them back to Hydro. Hydro would then unwrap them again, stake them on the native network, and offer you a liquid staking derivative in return. So you get a situation where you're able to stake on. You're basically staking your Atom tokens on the secret network privately while they are still securing the main Cosmos hub, because the app chain is using interchain contracts to stake them to the Cosmos hub, basically.
That sounds awesome. I've not heard of Hydro, I have to be honest. I Googled it in the meantime. I got to follow that Twitter. It's Dro_DAO. It sounds like a really, really interesting product. And yeah, as Ertemann just said, for all those messages that need to be transferred between, in your example, it was secret network, and you stake those atoms on the secret network. The communication in between the chains, it's all facilitated by relayers like us.
And I guess maybe we can quickly look into the future. We have basically only token transfers live at this moment, right?
Exactly.
I mean, Juno does have interchain contracts, but they don't have any counterparty because they are the only chain who has it live. I guess Secret Network is coming quite soon, and then interchain security is also coming, which is also relying on IBC. So, how many IBC messages do you think? Like how big of a percentage growth can we expect in the coming months on like IBC transactions?
I would not dare to guess, but a manifold for sure. It will be loads of transactions. And Cosmos SDK-based chains, they for sure, or Tendermint core chains, they have for sure not an efficiency problem. So they can handle huge amounts of transactions and messages per second, as we're seeing right now with a very, very lively discussion around DiDEX choosing Cosmos as their preferred layer 2. Because it has better performance actually than other solutions. And I think that the Cosmos SDK and the Tendermint-based chains, they are made for that. They are perfect high throughput chains. And with the IBC network connecting all those chains, it's for sure the best technology in my opinion to base a multi-chain future on. And yeah, I guess, well, in my opinion, we'll probably have 100 times the messages in a year.
Yeah, I mean, token transfers is nice, right? But someone will only transfer one token and do something on another chain, maybe sell it, do some other stuff, and then bridge it back. But when you're going to look at messaging, so interchain contracts, those could be very, very, very complex. I mean, one contract could be basically a minute worth of messages
Exactly.
going back and forth, saying, okay, hey, did I actually stake it there? Is it there? And then you have to query it again, message it back. So there are a lot way more transfers basically happening between all of those chains than just a few tokens moving around.
Exactly. Also, interchain contracts need interchain queries, which are being developed right now, I think, by Stakelab. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. But interchain queries are exactly are one major building block you need for interchain smart contracts, because smart contracts need to be able to query states on other chains. So maybe a balance, maybe the secret, a contract on the secret chain needs to query a liquidity position on the osmosis chain to facilitate liquidations or something. So also those interchain queries are being built right now, and they will also increase IBC traffic further. And yeah, I'm sure that in a year from now, most of the transactions, and I think like 5 times compared to normal token transactions within a network, will be actually IBC transactions.
Yeah, it's an interesting future to look at. And now you're saying this interchain queries, I'm actually thinking of oracles. I mean, it could well be the case that one chain just builds like a query database, which is maybe a few seconds behind, but is connected to every single network. And then one chain doesn't have to connect to every single network in order to query data, but they could just query, for example, the new chain called Chainlink 2.0 or whatever, and then get the query result from there instead of having to connect to every app chain.
Well, that would be a normal Oracle provider chain, in my opinion. I think BandChain are cooperating right now with Injective on real IBC oracles. So BandChain, they are this Oracle provider. You know what I mean? BandChain, they could just spin up oracles for everything you need, and you just need to query BandChain. But then you have the problem that BandChain could be wrong, and if there is a kind of error or exploit, Oracle chains are something really, really critical in the DeFi infrastructure, a critical piece to look upon. And with IBC, actually, those consensus messages, they can be transferred, those Oracle messages, they can be transferred in a more secure way than just an app querying Oracle chain.
Yeah, of course, with security, there's still a lot to figure out. I mean, if there's one chain who says he or she has the full truth, then you run into a situation where IBC is not really native security anymore. So there is indeed a lot of things to figure out. So good to hear people are working on interchain queries. It needs to be here quite soon if we really want to use interchain contracts. So
yeah, for sure. And I think the Juno, the Juno upgrade will be in 5 minutes, and it actually will enable interchain account host functionality on the Juno chain. So on any other interchain account enabled blockchain, like maybe secret network in the future, you can create a smart contract that controls an account on the Juno network. And this is called an interchain account. And the account on the Juno network side will be the host account. And the account on the secret side, in my example, will be the controller account. So the controller smart contract controls an account on a foreign chain that's connected through IBC. And Juno will enable IBC host functionality with their upgrade in a few minutes.
That's cool. Yeah, Secret already has interchain accounts live, but the funny thing is that there's no possible way to connect yet to other chains because there is no interchain messaging. So you're able to construct certain interchain accounts or try out the module, but it's not really fully functional yet. But we've heard from Secret Labs that they are very, very close. So we can expect a testnet somewhere upcoming week, hopefully, with interchain contracts live, and thereby also Cosm Wasm version 1. And they hope to update within, I think, within 2 months. So hopefully after like 1 or 1.5 months.
No, upgrade just started. Sorry, I'm parallelly looking at our notes.
Yeah, it's okay. No one else who can do it at the moment. In the meantime, if anyone has a question or wants to come up, then feel free to basically ask to speak or raise your hand, and I will get you on the stage, and you can ask anything regarding IBC, security, bridging to our guest, and hopefully that will answer your questions.
We already pre-commented the upgrade block, so I'm free again. Happy to receive your question.
Goes very fast.
Yeah, some upgrades they do, but on Osmosis they tend to take a little longer, and with the bigger the validator set and the bigger the upgrade, the longer the upgrade will take. Right now we are at 21% of the consensus, 27 right now.
Yeah, it's just for anyone who's wondering, Tendermint uses Binance fault tolerance consensus mechanism. So you need 33% of the voting power to be live in order for the chain not to halt, and you then need 67% of the voting power to reach consensus before the next block is proposed. And as soon as the block is proposed, the block is instantly final. So as when people have to update, you can basically only sign the next block if you have updated your validator. So people will be pushing in some stuff on their validator, or they already set up the validator to automatically update as soon as that block hits. And then as soon as every 67% of the validators has processed that requirement, then the next block is signed and the chain will start going again.
Exactly, beautiful description.
Yeah, and I guess I think it's always funny that it's a system which is set up in such a way that if consensus is not reached, that the block will take longer and longer and longer. So sometimes situations are created where if a computation is way too complicated or too many people are requesting things from the chain, then the consensus cannot handle it and the blocks become longer. But when the blocks become longer, thereby there's less transactions per second basically going around to handle the data that's going through the chain, and the chain starts slowly getting slower and slower. So there are also things which are different from using
Yeah, I've seen this. In my opinion, it's a fault of the operators. They need to provide infrastructure that's powerful enough to handle those situations. And actually, we are in the same boat. You know, we were a Terra validator when the network imploded, and this was even too much for the nodes that we provided at this point. But we've learned from it, and we can use this good data to go forward and provide even better infrastructure and make liveliness issues and long block times in times of transaction spam or in times of many transactions, less a burden for the users.
Yeah, and I guess the Terra example was it was harsh on all of us, but in the end, it's something where the ecosystem learned a lot and also has seen the Cosmos vision in action. That is, if one chain completely ruins themselves, then yes, all the tokens related to that chain will be worthless. But every other chain is just chugging along nicely. Like block times on every other applications are going fine. You can still trade on Osmosis if you want to. Totally. And I guess that is the vision really enabled. That is the security of one chain is not dependent on the security of any other chain.
Exactly. Yeah, we could see that very well because the problems, they were contained within the Terra chain, and well, they were also of course the assets they lost lost a lot of value. Also on the Osmosis chains, on the Osmosis chain, and pools got drained there, and that's not a beautiful situation at all. But the major economic problems, they were contained to the Terra chain because of the system, this economic system, this explosive economic system they built. And whilst this economic system was cracking down, Tendermint consensus was still perfectly working. So every block was made as it was supposed to be made. And well, we had liveliness issues, but also the IBC network, as you said before, it worked perfectly in containing the problems, the issues, the economic issues to the one chain. There were dependencies on other chains, of course, but then you need to react. When you have a dependency, like example on osmosis, some pools, and at that moment the Terra chain, it really got insecure from a consensus standpoint. We all the validators in consensus, we canceled the IBC connection to osmosis, and so this connection is still kept. You can react in extreme situations.
Yeah, I guess that's why the consensus of Terra was potentially at risk. Had little to do with the standard Tendermint application, though, but more to do with how immensely fast their token supply expanded, and every token, of course, had governance voting power. So you could, at certain points, you could buy more voting power in a specific pool than that there was staking on the entire chain. But that had little to do with Tendermint itself, of course, and IBC.
Yeah. 66% on Juno, no blocks still.
Yeah, so I just invited Emir on. If you have any question, then please go ahead.
Yes, hi everyone. Hi, Ertemann. I had a question for you. Is something I don't quite understand that you've mentioned before in the past also, and if you could explain it in like I'd say normie words or simple words. The interchain security. This is I would like to understand this a little better. And what's the place of secret in this interchain security concept?
Yes. So what is interchain security? I guess the how to best describe it is say that if you have one blockchain which has a validator set and they have a consensus, so it is all the validators combined, they propose a block and this block goes through. So they agree that certain transactions happened. This is what's called the security of a chain. So how well this validator set behaves, how their voting power is distributed, everything has to do with the security of this specific chain. And what interchain security allows is in general in the blockchain industry is called shared security, and that is that another blockchain can use the security of the, well, in this case, let's make an example, use the Cosmos hub. So if a block is proposed on the Cosmos hub, then the same block is proposed on the other chain. So you create a situation where the two chains are directly connected towards each other. If one proposes a block, then the other proposes a block as well. And they share the same validator set, and therefore they also share the same voting power. I guess that is the best way to describe interchain security, but even that contains still a lot of difficult words. But
no, that's perfect. Now on to the next question, and the more important one for me is the interchain privacy and the place of secret in this whole mechanism.
Yeah, so you have interchain security and you have interchain contracts, and I guess interchain security it will not be implemented yet on secret. I think the only chain for now that looks to be implementing it is, I think, the Cosmos Hub and Juno. And that enables you to rent out security to another chain and thereby gain staking rewards of the other chain. So secret for now will not be doing that, but it doesn't mean it will not be doing that in the future. And then for interchain contracts, what basically is the case that normally you can only execute a smart contract on one specific chain. So let's say you're on Secret Network, then I can make a contract where I mint some silk, which is done by Shade Protocol. I sell it on Secret Swap, and then I lend what I sold on Secret Swap out on Shenna. That could be one entire contract where all the applications interact with each other. But there's also a possibility where we do this cross-chain, so that I, for example, make a contract on Secret, which sends my funds over IBC to Osmosis, then I swap them on Osmosis, and then send them to Persistence, and on Persistence I want them to be liquid staked. And then when I execute the contract the other way around, the staking is removed, they are swapped again on Osmosis, and I get them back on Secret. So you're able to execute contracts over different chains. And the place secret network has in that is that this enables other applications or other chains to basically create private contracts of their own. IBC, of course, is public. So if you send a message over IBC, then someone can see what is happening. But what you could do, for example, is a DAO on Juno could create a contract on secret, which they can call. And this contract on secret has a private key of maybe it's a Bitcoin address, for example. So a DAO in Juno would be able to handle a contract on secret, which has the private key of this Bitcoin address, and then handle the Bitcoin address from there, instead of them having to host that as a centralized solution. They are able to use the privacy aspect of secret.
Perfect. That's just great. Thank you very much.
And things where I'm really looking forward to is batch sending and privacy in that sense. So what Osmosis, for example, could do is say, okay, you want this transaction to be private. That's okay. You can pool your funds together with other people, and instead of using like a mixer on our chain, what we do is we send all these funds to secret, send them to the contract there, basically, and this contract will send them to a various amount of new secret network addresses. We'll send them back to various new Osmos addresses, and then we would execute the swaps there and send them back to a new address you put in or whatever. And you would basically able to do private swaps on Osmosis by bridging them through secret without ever having to interact with secret network. So a lot of things to figure out, but I think secret, like so interchain contracts will enable a lot of functionality within Cosmos, and people are just barely thinking about what is possible, but there is a lot of different things which you can do.
For sure. Sorry, I got a little quiet. Every Juno fan has got to be a little bit strong right now. We have a consensus error on Juno right after the upgrade. Validators and the developers will try solve it as soon as possible. But it's not looking good right now.
Okay, good luck. If you have to leave, then feel free to do so.
Thank you. Actually, I think I will. I should attend the Discord conversation.
Yes, of course. Go ahead. If I can do anything, then I'll join a little bit later, and I'll keep the conversation going here for now. Thank you very much for being here and answering some questions about IBC and speaking with me on how the journey has been and where it's going to. If anyone wants to help them support the entire IBC ecosystem, then feel free to delegate to CryptoCrew. They are not only on Secret Network, but also on Juno, Comdex, Stargaze, SwiftChain.
Support us on Cosmos Hub if you really want to support us on a hub.
Of course, yeah. So feel free.
Thank you for the shout out. Thank you so much for the invitation. It was great fun, actually. Let's do this again soon, in my opinion.
Okay, sounds good. I'll see you. And I'll stay on for a while, but you can leave and I'll answer some other questions.
Awesome. Maybe I can make it back. Thank you so much, Ertemann. See you.
See you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was someone else on the stage. If you still want to ask your question, then feel free to speak up.
Hi to everybody. I was listening to the Defiant earlier on today, and one of the panelists was talking about Cosmos. And he said, if a less secure chain sends assets to a more secure one, and the less secure one gets hacked and transaction gets reverted, then the assets on the more secure chain get wrecked. And I didn't think this was true, but I don't know, because I thought we're not working with conventional bridges and wrapped assets.
Yeah, so sorry for the noise, but IBC security it's complicated to think about it, but people often call it native. And what this means is that there are no additional trust assumptions. So what happens is, if, for example, let's say that Cosmos in this situation is the most secure chain and Secret is less secure. What you can do is when you send Atom to Secret Network, then what IBC basically states is that you are not only trusting the Cosmos Hub and therefore the Atom token, but you're also trusting Secret Network. And if you trust both Cosmos Hub and Secret Network, then you're automatically also trust having your atom on the Secret Network. So in some sense, there is no additional trust. If you trust Secret Network and you trust the Atom Hub, then you can trust whatever token holding them on the different thing. But what happens is that when Secret, for example, goes down, or it goes down forever, then you lose your atom. And that is exactly what IBC states. It is you have to trust the security of the chain you're sending your tokens to be able to stay alive, basically to have liveness. And as soon as the liveness disappears, then your tokens are less secure. But I wouldn't say so if that really has anything to do with which chain is less or more secure. It just has to do with your tokens on a different chain are as safe as the chain which they are living on at that moment in time. So if you send tokens to Swift chain and Swift chain goes down, or something happens where the channels get stuck and they are never revived again, then your tokens are lost and there is no way you can send them back.
Okay, so this is only when the chain goes down, but if it just gets hacked and something gets stolen, it's still okay, or what are we saying? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that bit.
I guess there is not really a way where you can steal IBC tokens. So the only way to steal coins, I guess, native coins on a different network is by okay, let's say you build an application on Secret Network, and this application uses Atom, and this application is hacked. Someone finds a way to get the IBC Atom which is in that contract. Then they just get this IBC Atom and they send it back to the Cosmos Hub. But never ever there is a way to create a random extra token or to lose it, basically. Someone else will just gain access to your tokens. But that is a risk of the smart contract you're using, another risk of IBC.
Okay, thanks.
So if you just are sending, there is no way if you just send Atom to the Secret Network and you hold it as IBC Atom that it ever gets hacked. Or that is maybe a wrong statement, but if it gets hacked, that means like the entirety of IBC is compromised. There is no way to steal only your tokens and not everyone else's, basically. Yeah, go ahead if you have another question, Amir.
Yes, excuse me. Actually, I'm sorry, Ertemann. This question is for Porto, because we speak on the viral Discord every day, and I actually forgot to even ask you: Are you on the Secret Agents program?
Yes, I am. That's why I saw your post, actually.
Oh, okay, great. Because we never really got around that. Well, thank you very much, Ertemann and Porto, for that was a very good question, actually. Thank you very much.
Cheers, bro.
Yeah, maybe I can quickly mention that how this would work if you're using a custodial bridge, because I think that is the misconception here, is that, let's say the bridge you are using is not IBC, but you're using something, I mean, the secret bridge to Ethereum, for example, or the I think it's the wormhole bridge or anything on AVAX or whatever. What happens is it's that on both chains there is a smart contract, and this smart contract is hosted by specific people. And then if the smart contract, so the bridge, gets hacked, then you lose your funds. And then there is so, for example, if chain if you bridge Ethereum and AVAX, and AVAX goes down, or someone steals some funds from the AVAX contract, then there is not enough funds in the AVAX contract to back the amount of funds which are in the Ethereum contract. So the bridge is no longer fully backed. You create a situation where there are more tokens on one chain than there are on the other, even though they should be one-to-one. And this is never possible on IBC, because as soon as the only way you can bridge tokens between them if you use a channel. So if the channel goes down, then the tokens cannot disappear on the one chain, and they can also not be created on the other chain. The only possible way where this happens is if there's a rollback on one of the other chains. So if they, for example, you send something to Osmosis and they decide to stop the chain and then go back 10 blocks, then your tokens on Osmosis are suddenly gone, but you did send them away from Secret. That is still a risk which exists from IBC, but that only happens if a specific chain issues a rollback, which luckily did not happen yet in the area of IBC, but this for sure could happen. And if that does, then happen, then the question remains: how do you refund the users which suddenly lost their funds? These tokens will then forever be burned, not be accessible anymore to anyone.
Yes, but until a little bit, there wasn't much bridging, anyways, through Cosmos. Only like a little bit. Now with Evmos, there's a lot more. So this might be like more of an issue in upcoming time.
Yeah, I mean, these rollbacks, like this is a possibility between IBC chains as well, not only between IBC chains and non-IBC chains. But yes, I duly hope XLR, for example, never experiences any hack like this, because they already power, I think, 3 or 4 different chains with their tokens. So it would be very complicated to get them all back if something ought to happen. Anyway,
Could I?
Sorry,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna ask you a question. So, what do you think about having all these wrapped assets in the Cosmos? Because are we going to get to a point where when we start getting IST and Silk into the mix, we're going to sort of try use that more than we use like bridged USDC and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I really hope that we can steer away from a system where the main liquidity is in wrapped tokens. I think Osmosis seems to be moving to the situation quite quickly where there is more liquidity with stuff like DAI and wrapped Bitcoin or wrapped Ethereum than there is in the Atom pool, which is, I guess, scary, but this was also the case on Secret Network for a very long time, where they had an Ethereum and a Binance Smart Chain bridge, but not one to Cosmos, because IBC wasn't really usable yet. And I don't think it's particularly bad, but you do want to create a situation where you have as much native tokens as possible and therefore a better security guarantee. But probably when IST and Silk and now Nomic Bitcoin and stuff like that comes out, people will probably start moving away from wrapped Bitcoin or wrapped USDC. And it might even be so that when DYDX, the new exchange, is coming to Cosmos, that they also get Circle to host native USDC on chain. There is no reason why Cosmos cannot have native USDC, which would, of course, remove a lot of the problems instead of having to bridge it from Ethereum.
I guess, and to that point, I guess we could always incentivize the native pools if we feel like we need to get more people into those pools than the wrapped ones.
Yeah, I mean that's really up to governance, right? If governance or of Secret Network or governance of Osmosis wants to give incentives to certain pools and not to others, then they're free to do so. And on Secret Network, for example, you already have 3 different three different AMMs, and with Draw and Shade coming, there will be 5. So there will be lots of different ways to incentivize specific pools and specific tokens. But it's indeed it's a risk factor which was very clearly visible, for example, on the Terra meltdown, where in the end the reason USD broke was probably because they had some pools on Ethereum which were very illiquid in comparison to the pools on their native chain, and this external liquidity and created a problem where if the bridges failed, the arbitrage would be so big that by definition their stablecoin would fail. So it's also very risky to the assets that are being bridged, that they have no control over where their assets are living and who is having liquidity in that. But arbitrage traders will love it.
Hey, I'm back.
Welcome back. Is Juno still struggling, or I hope they signed the block?
Well, now, unfortunately, it's not signing blocks right now. First diagnosis is in. Shoutouts to Todd from BlockPain. He saw that the panic handler is catching a nil pointer in begin blocker, so we might wait for another upgrade. So actually, it looks like maybe the upgrade handler was broken. And yeah, what I can say for sure right now is that it will probably need a binary update for the chain to continue. So yeah, it should be sometime, I guess, within a few days max.
That's sad to see, but in the end, the composability and the ease of upgradability in the Cosmos SDK and Tendermint in general, which favors security over liveness, will make it so that in the end they still thrive. So it's fine.
For sure, yeah. We're still developing all this stuff. Every chain is developing on the Cosmos SDK, and yeah, there are things to be learned still for everybody, and we're all still learning, and we can build on that for sure.
Yeah, maybe to finish it off, you can highlight your most interesting fact about IBC, and then if there are any other questions, we will have those, and then we'll make an end to tie an end to this.
My most interesting fact about IBC, well, I could brag with some statistics. We were in the beginning when Terra launched IBC on their now legacy chain, like the Terra Classic chain. When UST was still patched to $1, we relayed a total value of over $1 billion in 1 month for the Terra chain, between Terra and Osmosis. That was when all the liquidity got bootstrapped with UST on Osmosis. And we were facilitating a lot of those transactions. And I analyzed a 30 days window of this time frame that was last year in end of October and November. And yeah, we transferred a total of over $1 billion worth of assets between those chains.
Yeah, that's indeed quite an interesting fact. $1 billion, it's almost impossible to think about how much money that is, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I guess an effect for myself. Let's think for a bit. I think this is something we talked about actually, about what happens. Maybe I'll make it more simple. The most interesting fact I think about IBC is that you can have multiple different channels, so like tunnels basically between two chains, and you moving assets through one tunnel and means that the only way you can move them back is to move them through the same tunnel. There is no way to fit it through the other one, and this makes IBC tokens over different channels non-fungible, which I think is it's a limitation, yet also very interesting as to how and why this works like that. So even though every token has native security, when you bridge them over IBC, if you bridge them through different channels, they are non-fungible. It's an interesting fact, which you probably should know if you're in the IBC ecosystem.
Yeah, it is. For sure, yeah, these are the fungibility issues, and we often have those cases that users, they transfer asset, maybe let's say they transfer secret token to the Osmosis chain and provide liquidity, and then they withdraw it, and then they want to provide liquidity on Sif chain, then they transfer their tokens to Sif chain, and they provide a little bit liquidity there, and then they go back to secret network, and then they have this token that went around 3 chains or went around 2 chains, Osmosis and Civ chain. And actually the token the IBC token that arrives in the end on the secret network, it will have all its history of the way it came in its token denomination. So you can, the IBC hash, it's this really long hash. So a token is denominated in an IBC token is denominated in a hash that's beginning with IBC / and then there is a hexadecimal hash. And you can resolve this. You can call the REST API and you can send this hash to the REST API of the respective chain and resolve this hash. And then it will say in human readable form what you can see on Kepler Wallet, for instance, transfer channel 1 / transfer channel 27 / transfer channel 5. That's the name of your token with imagined channels right now. But it will be something similar to this. It will have all the history of the IBC way it came from in its denomination. So you will end up with some weird IBC token that has information about it the whole way it came on the secret network. Whereas what you should have done, or what the user should have done, is just go the same way back that he came from. And if you go the way back through the same tunnel as you beautifully described before, it's a very good analogy with the tunnels. You need to take the same tunnel back to undo your history. And only if you undo your full IBC history, you will get your native token back.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's like one of those boxes you get as a kid, right? Where you're trying to fit a square into a triangular.
It can feel like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's always how I envision it. And we were actually talking about how secret tokens, because they are smart contracts who take in different channels of, or they could. Nowadays they only take in one channel, but they could take in other denominators. You actually create a fungible version of any IBC token. So you could basically accept every type of history of this token, and all put them in the same smart contract, and then just use that as a token on the chain. So we're long not due for having to need this solution, but if it ever comes, it's interesting to see that the way Secret uses IBC tokens is already set up to possibly handle that.
It is a very interesting thought for sure. There are some design issues with it to be handled. You can imagine a smart contract kind of like a pool. So if it receives funds from users and it receives different denominations, different IBC tokens, and you make it possible that you can exchange those tokens within the contract, you will have to maintain some liquidity management. Speaking of where a user deposits the token A to the contract and wants to withdraw the token B, you got to have another user who wants to do the exact different action. Otherwise, you would have liquidity problems at one point if you don't have reserve pools or stuff like that. So there are some design issues to be figured out around this, but it's for sure a really interesting concept we should figure out in the future.
Yeah, there's still a lot to do there, but it's basically not needed at this moment. It's just a small realization which I had when I was talking to Secret Labs that it's indeed a possibility that you fix fungibility by using a pooling contract, basically. And of course, this smart contract for secret tokens, they're relatively simple because you don't want them to be hacked, of course. They have to be as simple as possible to be very secure. So they do not allow for any of this liquidity pooling, of course, at the moment. But you never know what's needed in the future.
For sure, excited for it.
Well, I want to thank you again very much for coming on. I had an episode about IBC security and IBC in general now, and we will have another episode next week. We don't have any guests lined up, but I will be here at least, and if anyone else wants to join as well, then you're very welcome to do so. Every Thursday at, I have to say it correctly, 5 UTC, 1 p.m. Eastern time, which corresponds to 7 o'clock in the night Central European time. So if you're free at this time on Thursday, then feel free to join in again next time. But for now, we're tying an end to it, and we thank you all for being here.
I'll be there. Thank you very much again for the invitation, Ertemann. Looking forward to your next spaces.
Yeah, thank you. I hope to see the IBC tokens live upcoming week on Secret. I want to send some Secret Akash and Secret Athmos.
Awesome. Everybody does. I'm also looking forward to it.
Okay. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening in on the Agents of the Roundtable Community AMA. Follow us on Twitter at secret_AOTRT and every Monday at 7 p.m. UTC in the Secret Network Discord.